return to our coverage of the Trump doctrine in the Middle East. Currently, the president is working on a lasting solution in Gaza that ends the killing. He continues to resist the siren song of regime change wars pitched by the likes of Fox News host and future ShamWow infomercial screamer Mark Levin. We continue to invite veterans of the regime change wars from the Bush and Obama eras onto our program because we want you, the audience, to see the lasting impact of some of these insane decisions. One of those veterans is Sean Van Diver. He's committed a good part of his life to keeping America's promises to Afghans and help ensure that we're not leaving people on the battlefield after they helped us in our campaigns that ultimately led to trading caves back and forth with the Taliban for 20 years. We don't feel many of the promises that were made even should have been made. But now that they have been made, how are we dealing with them? And is anyone going to make sense of some of the most chaotic withdrawals a military has seen anywhere this century? Navy veteran and president of AfghanEvac, Sean Van Diver, joins us now. So, Sean, what is going on? There's big news at the State Department regarding some of your efforts to get the interpreters and others who helped our campaign in Afghanistan a fulfillment of the promise that was made to them.
That's right. Well, Matt, thank you so much for having me on today. Look, the sirens are blaring right now, right? Since the administration took over, we've lost the ability to move refugees to the United States, which I know that the president gets to decide what he's going to do with this policy, but the 50,000 or so Afghan refugees are family of active duty U.S. military. These are women who gathered intelligence from the Taliban force. A litany of folks, families that are trying to be reunified. They can't come here, and they've made it much harder for special immigrant visa holders to get here. They've even shut down, as of today, the acting coordinator for Afghan relocation efforts was just let go in the State Department rifts, the layoffs. They've shut down sort of every piece of this. So now we're faced with this reality that our wartime allies have been abandoned and betrayed.
And these are Afghan citizens, for the most part, that you're talking about, right? And they tell us a little bit about what life is like for them in today's Afghanistan.
Sure. So if you're somebody that stood up for the idea of democracy, that believed in the American mission, that stood with us when we told you, you stand with us, we'll stand with you, you stand with us, we'll make you an American citizen, you can come here, then, and you're not here yet, well, you're hiding. You're running for your life. There was a man who, named Syed, who made it here, who was in hiding from the Taliban hunting him down. He had to flee to Brazil, walked his way up to the U.S.-Mexico border, knocked on the door the right way, came in through CBP-1, which is what the last administration told him to do. He followed all the rules, got paroled in. Just a few weeks ago, he got snatched up by ICE in a court. And now ICE is doing the work that they've been directed to do by the Department of Homeland Security and the President. But these folks who stood with us in our time of war, should not be the people that they're being snatched up. And we know that. We know that the American people believe that. We know that veterans are very upset about that.
I heard from a number of veterans in my own community about the interpreters and others who helped out at the bases, who they were tearfully fearful for. Yeah. But in Afghanistan now, the government seems to want a lot of things from the United States, right? They want unlocked bank accounts. They want intelligence sharing on anti-Al-Qaeda and anti-ISIS efforts. Is there a deal to be made with the Taliban where they don't punish people who helped Americans in exchange for some of the things that they want in the normal course of governance?
So I don't think so, because our word has to be good, right? When you, as a member of Congress, ask me as a veteran, as a service member, to go downrange and make a promise in exchange for services rendered, we've got to be able to take those promises to the bank, right? So I think we should still be bringing those people here, and we shouldn't be normalizing relationships with the Taliban until, at the very least, they make progress on women and girls. It is a horrific environment for women and girls in Afghanistan. For example, the 30 female tactical platoon members that are at Camp Asaliya in Doha right now and being threatened to be sent back to Afghanistan, if they get sent back, they will immediately be imprisoned, they'll be raped, they'll be murdered. It is an awful situation for women. Women's voices can't be heard, they can't work, they're treated worse than property in Afghanistan.
There's an argument to be made that failing to keep our promises actually is the American legacy in the Middle East. There were people who rose up in Iran. We told them that if they marched in the streets, we'd have their back. We didn't. Many were slaughtered. We told the Kurds that we'd have their back. And time and again, we allowed Arab militias from Erdogan to slaughter Kurds. We told Iraqis back before the last regime change war that their rising up would lead to us having their back. And so, you know, if we do that over and over again, explain what that really means for the future of conflict and America's word.
So I'm going to take this in two parts. Number one, I'm so glad you brought that up, because you're right. For the first time ever, we were keeping our promises through Enduring Welcome, because, led by us, veterans and civil society stood up and worked with government to build the safest, most secure legal immigration pathway our country has ever seen, ever. That was Enduring Welcome. It was working until January 20th. Not keeping our promises only leads to more death on the battlefield for folks like me who served in the military, for our sons and daughters that go downrange. If people cannot trust the word of the United States, they're going to figure out to stop hanging out with us and start hanging out with China and Russia and Iran and other places who have our worst interests at heart.
Yeah, I guess the only thing going for us is that they lie too.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it would probably be a lot worse than it is if the word of China or Russia were more reliable. But it turns out that kind of everybody lies.
Well, look,
and maybe it is a lesson against these future engagements, that if it all sort of ends in a series of promises that nobody intends to keep, which in Afghanistan seems to be the case, and it seems to be the case in the other circumstances.
well, we were
discussed.
keeping the promises there.
Yeah,
though,
but
right?
but you have updated our audience that is.
But that's a
coming to an
decision,
end.
and we could bring that, we could walk that back. We could get back on all of the infrastructure is still there for us to step up and keep those promises again. I know every veteran that I know cares about this. I know you care about it. I know Dan Crenshaw and so many other members of Congress wrote a letter saying, save this program.
No, we're familiar with that letter.
Yeah.
Sean Van Diver, thank you as always for coming on the program. Thanks for your passion for the subject.
Thank you so much.